Denver's Martin Luther King Marade features calls to support the striking King Soopers workers. Awkward, since King Soopers is the longtime main sponsor of the Marade. There's a fire ban in place for part of Boulder County when the Marshall Fire happened, just not the part that burned. Contractors prepare to rebuild houses they already built once.
We did a lot of work on that one. We made it very beautiful, and now it's far from.
This time, they'll have trouble finding workers and materials. And you've raised more than $180,000 to help pets and pet owners impacted by the Marshall Fire. The big surge in giving today is in tribute to the late Betty White. And if you make it all the way to the end, we vow to share something that's not horrible. On the news, for real. Under promise and over deliver. That's what we do daily on Next. Denver's Martin Luther King Jr. Marade today included calls to support the striking King Soopers workers, just as Dr. King spent his final days supporting striking sanitation workers in Memphis. And we've just learned that Marade organizers quietly removed King Soopers as their lone corporate sponsor after more than a decade, and it was directly due to the strike. A Marade organizer tells me that they'll be returning King Soopers sponsorship money this year. King Soopers rep said they had not been made aware of the Marade's decision. The Marade honoring Dr. King and his legacy started at his memorial in City Park this morning. And Denver Mayor Michael Hancock told the crowd at one point that if Dr. King were alive today, he would be on the picket line alongside those striking King Soopers workers.
I have a dream today that you will go to King Soopers today, not to cross the line, but to stand with those workers and say to them, thank you for seeing us through COVID. Thank you for making a difference. And those who are hourly wage earners are just as important as the salary wage earners. You deserve livable wages. You deserve health care benefits. You deserve to be treated as a man and a woman with dignity and respect. I have a dream today, because if he was here at 93 and able-bodied, Dr. King will be in that picket line today.
A Marade organizer told me the decision to drop King Soopers as their main sponsor was made as soon as UFCW Local 7 declared a strike. The union and the company resumed their negotiations today. Statements from both suggest that very little progress has been made since that strike started last week. So there was a fire ban in place for part of Boulder County when the Marshall Fire happened last month. It prohibited fires in the western part of the county, while a portion of the eastern half burned. Marshall Zellinger wondered why.
Highway 93 in Boulder County separates the western foothills from the eastern plains. And at the time of the Marshall Fire, it was the boundary for fire restrictions in part of the county.
Historically, in Boulder, we use the Highway 93 and the North Foothills Highway here as kind of our dividing line.
Seth McKinney is the fire management officer for the Boulder County Sheriff's Office.
For the most part, up until the Marshall Fire, the fire danger is all up there.
When the Marshall Fire started, the western part of Boulder County, west of Highway 93, was under a fire ban. East of the highway was not.
We implement fire restrictions because of high fire danger. In the past, that has mostly been focused towards the mountain and foothill areas where fire danger has the highest risk.
Each county decides when and why to restrict open burning.
On the agricultural side of things, you've got farmers that typically burn out irrigation ditches, their ag fields, a number of things to help them, do the work that they need to do in a good, safe, responsible manner.
When it is not restricted, open burning is allowed in Boulder County if you apply for a free permit, mainly for home mitigation.
Cut down vegetation, organic material of certain types. Under no circumstances are you ever allowed to burn trash. So even treated lumber, OSB board, that kind of stuff, we're not allowed to burn that.
That means when trash and railroad ties were being burned on the 12 Tribes property 1 week before the Marshall Fire, those items should not have been set on fire, even though that side of the highway was not under fire restrictions. The sheriff's office told me the cause and origin are still being investigated, including activities that took place at the 12 Tribes property and surrounding areas.
We only control restrictions for unincorporated parts of the counties, and a lot of area to the east of the highway is incorporated cities. But I think we need to change our thinking a little bit and make sure that we're looking at fire risk for fires for like the one we had on the Marshall Fire.
So why does the sheriff declare fire bans?
State statute names each county sheriff as the fire warden. I love nuggets like that. That fire ban in Boulder County actually ended last Tuesday, Kyle.
Ton of your stories so far in the last couple of weeks, Marshall, we've heard something like that where they say we need to be thinking about this differently.
Right, but you know what? You can do safe fire, and according to McKinney there, Seth McKinney, he was saying that just because you see smoke in the sky, there could be proper permits being used and proper use of burning when there is no fire restriction. No bad weather, no wind, and no bad air quality situations.
Marshall, thank you. So the same contractors who built many of the neighborhoods destroyed in the fire are going to come back to build them again, now with higher supply costs, labor shortages, and so forth. This process could take years. Here's Mark Salinger.
Here's what's left of our signage.
Picking up the pieces
People lost everything they own.
takes time. Building them back up takes even longer.
We just did the landscaping this year, and as you can tell, there's nothing left of it either.
Merrick Mays is a general contractor and owner of Cooper Building Group in Louisville.
Just getting started.
For more than a decade, he's worked to build up homes like this one.
I remodeled a lot of these homes.
The fire left him with more work to do.
Yeah, now we're going to build them.
It won't be quick. They're already facing more challenges than usual these days.
We'll be ordering materials for this house a year and a half before we need them. And hopefully we get them in time. People are just ordering and ordering and ordering, and well, now we got 1,000 more people ordering.
The cost of building materials is high. 1,000 board feet of lumber costs more than $1,200 today. A year ago, it was less than $800. In 2020, it was less than $500. Other materials take months to arrive.
The metal plates to put trusses together, there's a shortage of them. So we're waiting 6-7 months for trusses now.
So we want to get them back in as fast as possible, but we can only do as much as we can do.
Heidi Newland is an interior architect and construction operations manager for Cooper Building Group. Before she can draw up the blueprints, the debris has to be cleared. Remaining structures must be demolished. The contaminated topsoil has to be removed. Builders were already busy. Now they're making more room to rebuild.
And we're not taking on any new additional work but fire rebuilds.
The process could take years. The goal is to make the neighborhood home again.
We want to get this town back together. That's our main goal.
A lot of these homes burned in neighborhoods and subdivisions regulated by homeowners associations. In those cases, those HOAs hold a lot of power in how the area looks when it rebuilds. A lot of the times the HOA will hire one single contractor to build all the homes so that they look the same. That could slow down the building process and create more regulations that have to be followed. Other HOAs could leave it up to the homeowners themselves to contract with their own builders. Kyle, one more thing to consider in all of that, if all of these homes rebuild and they look different, extremely different, that could impact the resale value somewhere down the line of an organization and a subdivision that looked different than when it was originally built.
Interesting. What can we glean from what's happening in Grand County for what might happen down in Front Range?
Yeah, so when you look at Grand County right now, only half, not even half of all the people who say that they want to rebuild have even been issued a permit to do so. Of course, there's less builders and less supplies up there, but regardless of where you are, it's going to take a bit of time to rebuild.
Half's a big number. All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Mark. The holiday weekend is likely going to cause some lag in reporting of the state's COVID numbers, though what we are seeing right now is encouraging. Our current ICU bed capacity has remained steady at or around 92% for the last week or so. 121 ICU beds are open statewide. And our positivity rate looks like it might be turning a corner. Sustained decreases over the last few days. It was just under 30% last week. It's now down at 27.5% coming back positive over the last 7 days. You can add Democratic Congresswoman Diana DeGette to the list of elected officials in Colorado who have said they tested positive for COVID lately. Tweeted this morning her symptoms aren't bad and she'll be isolating and working from home. And Denver Mayor Hancock, who announced a positive diagnosis, and Republican gubernatorial frontrunner Heidi Ganahl, who came off the campaign trail for a little while when she caught COVID. So normally we wrap up your Word of Thanks micro-giving campaigns each Monday. We tell you how much was raised. Well, this week's campaign, like last week's, just is not slowing down on a Monday. And this time it's because so many people are participating in the Betty White Challenge to give $5 to an animal nonprofit on what would have been Betty White's 100th birthday. Well, it just so happens you have been piling up $5 gifts for the Humane Society of Boulder Valley since last week. $180,000 worth to help pets and pet owners impacted by the fire. Scan the QR code on your screen or text THANKS to 303-871-1491 if you'd like to give in celebration of Betty White and her love of animals, or just to help fellow Coloradans who are facing vet bills or in need of donated food or pet supplies, or a free place to board their animals for a while they're in transitional housing after the fire. And the Humane Society of Boulder Valley is even going to be able to, because of your Word Thanks gifts, to cover all of the adoption fees for every family who lost a pet in the fire when those families are ready to adopt again. I bet you Betty White would have loved that.
This is the time to ask for help in whatever capacity that means.
The past 2 years haven't been easy. Losing your home on top of all of it can send somebody into a mental spiral. There's help out there. We'll look at whether sprinklers, indoors or outdoors, could have done any good in the face of the Marshall Fire. And it's not all discouraging news out there. There's no snow, yet ski practice is still on. Something that's not horrible. Next. Tonight's next question comes to us from Joe in Loveland. He reached out after seeing how many homes were lost in the Marshall Fire.
If those homes had sprinkler systems on the inside, would that have either prevented or reduced at least some of the catastrophic situations that happen? And a follow-up, were actually sprinkler systems required by code that were eliminated?
For the first part of Joe's question, about whether indoor sprinkler systems might have done anything, we asked Faraz Hayadadi with the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety.
Internal sprinklers, they are great to have, but they don't really affect your vulnerability to an external fire, meaning wildfire. The sensitivity of those sprinklers is basically it's like a temperature sensor on this. So when something happens inside, they go off. But when a fire attacks the building from outside, they don't activate, right? So, and they don't know that there is something happening outside of the structure, right? And that's the problem, that oftentimes the structure is burning, and well, it burns all the pipes and everything, and then that's too late.
So when we talk about fire code in Boulder County, it's split east and west, basically foothills and then Front Range. New homes in the foothills have to use fire-resistant materials for the roof, the walls, the fence, the deck, the gutters. Also have to follow rules for defensible space around the house. Still, no indoor sprinkler requirements for the reason you heard there. Homes in the other fire zone, Zone 2 to the east, Louisville, Superior, other places, they only need to have a Class B roof, the second most fire-resistant material. We were also curious on the issue of sprinklers, if outdoor sprinkler systems, if they could have been turned on, might that have fended off any of the destruction from the fire at all? The answer to these things is yes, it can help, but it depends on where they're located on each property and how much wind is blowing.
We know that, for example, in this fire, we had 50 miles plus an hour wind. Those kind of wind can carry the water droplets away from the structure, right? So the placement of the sprinklers during the events needs to be changed or modified based on these wind effects.
We got smarter because somebody asked a good question. Record a video or audio message of any question that occurs to you about something in Colorado and email it to next@9news.com. We'll find an answer and get smarter together. It's a sign that Boulder County has faced adversity before and will persevere through this. Jim Rooney's a West Metro firefighter, and he was helping out with hotspot monitoring a bit more than a week ago when he snapped this photo off West Dillon Road near the Coal Creek Golf Course in Louisville. An American flag and a sign that says "Boco Strong will rise again." Send us the signs you see, whether it's something inspirational or the laugh that we could all use. Send those photos to next@9news.com or get our attention on Twitter with the hashtag HeyNext.
Well, it was certainly a warm one in Denver for your day today. Highs getting on up into the low 60s for us here in Denver. A lot of 60s for us in the eastern plains. Of course, much colder for us in the mountains. It'll drop back into the 20s, upper 20s for Denver overnight. Single digits and teens in the mountains. Now, tomorrow will turn a little bit breezy with some increasing clouds during the afternoon. Highs once again in the mid-50s, but our next storm system arrives, and with it, a cold front, and that'll drop temperatures for your Wednesday, and with it also a little bit of light snow. So that 7-day forecast looks like this. A little bit of light snow, an inch or less for us on your Wednesday. Another chance for some snow coming up on your Friday.
They outran the fire. Now it's the mental trauma catching up with them.
Whatever you're feeling, it's not right or wrong. We're all processing this differently, and it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling.
Help is available. Next. There are Coloradans on edge these days. Mental health worn down from the pandemic and all the other challenges of the last few years, and then thousands of people had to flee the Marshall Fire. Mental health experts are asking people to please realize this. Prioritize taking care of yourself in the weeks and months ahead.
Our community is going through a really tough time right now. The mental health impacts from the Marshall Fire are huge. I'm Laura Squajinski. I'm one of our town trustees for Superior, Colorado. The main message I want to convey to people is really talk about your feelings. Whatever you're feeling, it's not right or wrong. We're all processing this differently, and it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling.
Seek help if you feel you need it. My name's Chris Carlson, and I live in Colorado Springs in Mountain Shadows, where the Waldo Canyon fire came through in June of 2012. And we lost our home. The wonderful Waldo Women Group, it was a real group. It was a group of women who had total loss of their homes. We had a psychologist who met with us a couple times just to talk to us about the mental health part and what's really going on in your brain when you go through trauma.
Trauma is fight, flight, freeze, collapse. And when I think about evacuation, I think about fleeing. My name is Amanda Riebel. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. This is the time to ask for help in whatever capacity that means.
And it's something that can kind of get forgotten about as we're talking about fundraising for rebuilding or working with insurance companies. Mental health feels like it could take a back seat because there's other more pressing things to work on. But I actually believe quite the opposite. We all need to make sure that we are strong mentally so that we're fully prepared to deal with all of the other challenges coming our way.
Go ahead and feel what you feel, express what you feel, and feel okay about it.
Please remember that there are resources out there to help.
And this is the time to not be alone, to not suffer in silence.
Help is always just a call or a text message away. Colorado Crisis Services is 24/7, even on a holiday like today. 1-844-493-8255. You can text the word TALK to 38255. The sound of a child's joy. That's something that's not horrible, so it fits our new segment. Push feedback next. News has been kind of tough lately, so that's why we have a segment called Here's Something That's Not Horrible. That is 2-year-old Nora learning how to ski at home in Denver. No snow needed. Nora's going to have a decision to make, though. Mom's a snowboarder. Dad's a skier. Keep sending us things that aren't horrible, even little tidbits like that. Anything that's not terrible. Email pics or video to next@9news.com. Jolia writes in tonight about us mentioning the Betty White Challenge as it relates to raising money for Humane Society of Boulder County to say, thank you for signal boosting ways to help. Always. I want you to hear what somebody at the Humane Society wrote the other day, because this is for you. Wow, wow, wow. There are no words. We're completely overwhelmed with gratitude and humbled. To see the donations rolling in like this is like nothing we've ever experienced. I still can't believe my eyes. That is what you do each week.